Welcome to Tequila and Terror, a paranormal and true crime podcast where we will drink tequila and tell terrible tales. My name is Keisha, and I will be telling paranormal stories, and Wes will cover true crime. Today, I will be talking about the Myrtles Plantation, which is in St. Francisville, Louisiana. Cool. We have actually discussed going here multiple times, but we haven't yet.
We almost did once, but went to Mardi Gras instead.
Yeah, that kind of happened. All right. The Myrtles Plantation was originally called Laurel Grove, and it was built in 1796 by General David Bradford, also known as Whiskey Dave.
Whiskey Dave?
Whiskey Dave.
I could party with that guy.
Yeah, of the Whiskey Rebellion. Like, the best job title, right?
That's pretty awesome.
Not so much. After he fled from President George Washington's army in 1974, General Bradford obtained a Spanish land grant of about 650 acres in Louisiana and built his plantation on that. It is rumored that the plantation was actually built on ancient Tunica Indian burial grounds, which would explain why there's so much paranormal activity on the property.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yes, sir. After General Bradford's death, the plantation was passed on to his daughter, Sarah Matilda, and her husband, Judge Clark Woodruff. The judge was a well-respected man in the community as a man of integrity and staunch upholder of the law, but he also had a problem keeping it in his pants. He had a lot of affairs with his slaves, one of which is rumored to be a slave named Chloe, who was a house slave.
Sounds kind of holy Chloe.
I mean, in that time, you kind of did what you were supposed to do, right? I mean, he said jump and you asked how high because you don't want to die. I rhymed.
You did?
There are multiple versions of this story, but the most common version states that Chloe was found eavesdropping on Clark, and so he cut her ear off as punishment.
Cut her ear off?
He cut off her ear because she was like putting her ear to the door and listening in on his private matters.
Well, that makes sense.
I mean,
what else do you do?
Right? You cut my ear off all the time. No. She was forced to wear a green turban to cover her disfigured ear. Some accounts state that Chloe was seeking revenge, and some simply state that Chloe was looking to get back into the family's good graces after the conflict. One story is that Chloe planned to bake a cake for the family using leaves from one of the oleander plants on the property, which contain a small amount of poison similar to arsenic. She figured that if she could bake a cake containing just enough poison to get the family sick and then nurse them back to health, she could show them how useful she would be in the house so she wouldn't have to work in the fields.
That's a pretty good plan.
Well, it might have been. But then the family started getting sick, and the story states that no matter how hard she tried, she was not able to nurse them back to health.
Whoops.
Now, it's stated that Woodruff's wife and two of the children died from this. Afraid of how Judge Woodruff would react when he returned home, because he was out of town, the other slaves took matters into their own hands, hanging Chloe from a nearby tree, and then threw her body into a river after she had died.
Holy crap. So the slaves took it upon themselves.
Yeah, because they were like, listen, he's going to be pissed when he comes home, so let's just go ahead and get it over with so we can just let him know, hey, we took care of this for you. We're still good. But, I don't
think that's going to play out the way they want it to, is it?
Well, her spirit still haunts the place, but I think they were actually, they didn't have any punishments.
Oh, really?
From what I read.
Poor Chloe.
Yeah. Now, at the time, it was customary to cover all of the mirrors in the home after someone passed away. Basically, they stated so that the soul of the deceased did not become trapped in the mirror. But the mirror in the downstairs entryway was not covered after the deaths. All of the other ones in the house were, but that one wasn't.
So, it's kind of like that mirror at Zach Bagan's haunted mansion that had a spirit in it.
Well, kind of. And so it's stated that the children's spirits are still trapped in the mirror. Visitors have said that they see handprints appear on the glass, strange drip marks that run the length of the mirror and cannot be cleaned, and some have reported seeing figures in old-fashioned clothing in the glass and have even taken pictures of them. According to a tour guide at the property, the glass was actually replaced multiple times and the images always reappear.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It's also stated that you can sometimes smell fragrances of roses, magnolias, and perfumes in the upstairs foyer and in some of the bedrooms, and people suspect that that is Sarah Woodruff's ghost. Because that's the kind of perfumes and like scents that she preferred. There is a picture that is taken by one of the modern day owners of the plantation of the front of the house. And once it was developed, you could see an apparition near the veranda wearing what appeared to be a green turban.
I've seen that picture on the internet.
Yeah, if you Google the house and ghost, you can see plenty of pictures that have been taken.
Maybe,
and that's one of the first ones that come up.
Maybe you should toss that up on Instagram or Facebook or wherever.
I'll probably put that up. Yeah. And it's also said that the guests of the bed and breakfast will hear footsteps wandering the halls. Others report being jolted from their sleep by a black woman in a green turban who lifted up the mosquito netting around their beds as they were sleeping, as if she were looking for someone. Now, there are actually no records stating that Sarah and the children were poisoned. Supposedly, they died at a later date and time of yellow fever. And there are also no records of a slave named Chloe ever being owned by the Woodruffs. But this story still remains. It's one of the most popular stories about the plantation.
It's really famous. So.
Yeah. And in 1834, Laurel Grove was actually purchased by Ruffin Gray Sterling, a wealthy man who owned plantations on both sides of the Mississippi. The Sterlings wanted the house to show off their social status because, they were fancy. So they completely remodeled the house, removing walls, adding elaborate furniture, and renaming the plantation the Myrtles, after the crepe myrtles outside.
Oh, okay.
Sterling passed away in 1854 of consumption or tuberculosis.
So not eating too much.
Not eating too many chocolates,
oh,
no.
Okay.
And he left the plantation to his wife, who ran the business almost single-handedly. Which in that time was kind of unheard of.
Yeah.
And Mary Catherine was her name. They had 9 children together, and only 4 of them lived to be old enough to marry.
Wow.
Which, of course, was like teen years then, but that still sucks. In December of 1865, Mary Catherine Cobb hired her daughter Sarah's husband, William Winter, to act as her attorney and help manage the plantation, and gave them the home as part of the deal.
It's a good deal.
Now, William and Sarah had 6 children of their own, one of which died of typhoid fever at age 3. Apparently, I can't say typhoid.
Well, we all have our words.
When 3-year-old daughter Kate became ill, Winter reportedly called in a slave, Chloe, from a neighboring plantation who had the reputation of being a voodoo princess.
That's going to end well. Just my knowledge of voodoo.
Now, Chloe was supposed to heal Kate, but despite her efforts, Kate still passed away from typhoid, and in retaliation, William had her hanged. Of course. Now, hard times fell on the Winter family, and they pretty much lost their asses. They were completely bankrupt by 1861, and 2 years later, the property was sold back to Sarah Winter as the heir to her father, Ruffin Sterling. It's unsure how they reversed their misfortune, but it's pretty lucky for them that they did. Until January of 1871.
There's always an until.
Yeah, there's always a but.
Yeah.
William Winter was said to have been teaching a Sunday school lesson in the gentleman's parlor at the house when he heard someone on horseback approach the property and call out to him. He went outside and was shot. The man rode off and was never identified.
I don't guess that was Paul Revere, was it?
No. Now, some stories say that the people in the parlor rushed out to aid William, while others state that he re-entered the home and attempted to climb the stairs before passing from his wounds, passing away on the 17th step in the arms of his wife.
Wow.
People claim that they have seen and captured pictures of a woman descending the staircase, which most assume to be Mary, his wife, and some claim to hear steps in the night going halfway up the stairs to the 17th step and then stopping. In one of the rooms, people have reported smelling cigar smoke, and they assume it to be the ghost of a Confederate soldier, John Leake. Guests of the Ruffton Sterling room report hearing children crying in the middle of the night.
That's where I want to stay.
I was going to say, which would annoy the heck out of you. And some people believe that it's a residual impression of the Woodruff children since they passed away in that room. It's also rumored that during Civil War times, 3 Union soldiers broke into the home and attempted to loot the house and were shot and killed on the spot, which left pools of blood on the floor and a stain that could not be washed away. Crying can be heard in the General David Bradford suite, where 3-year-old Kate Winter passed. The house has been featured on Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, and Unsolved Mysteries even filmed there. And they experienced technical difficulties, claiming that the spirits drained the energies from the batteries for the cameras. You can book a room to stay a night at the Myrtles, but they state that oftentimes guests have trouble staying all night because they're too scared.
Yeah.
That's pretty insane. I mean, I still want to go.
Yeah, we gotta go. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a beautiful looking place, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, it's super pretty. I have friends who have visited, and all of their pictures look really good, but also, I mean, I would probably just get more excited about hearing things that go bump in the night and noises. And
we should have went there. We were 30 minutes from it, and we should have went there instead of piss-smelled New Orleans.
It was still a fun trip.
It was not fun.
10-10 would not do again.
No, do not go to New Orleans on Mardi Gras.
Okay, yeah, not New Orleans on Mardi Gras. That was our biggest mistake, but we didn't know it was Mardi Gras, so it's fine. It's fine.
But that's our 4th episode now, I think, at this point.
Yeah, this is our 4th episode.
We're actually quite surprised. Thanks for everybody listening, and we hope that you continue listening and check out all of our social media that Keisha's about to tell you about, because I don't remember it.
Yes, if you have any suggestions on topics for us for the future, feel free to email us at tequilaandterror@gmail.com. As always, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, pretty much anywhere that you can get your podcasts.
If you are actually using a computer or your smart device, instead of trying to plug our name into a microwave, you're probably going to be able to find us.
Yeah. I Googled us the other day. That was a terrible decision. Us personally, not the podcast. Gosh. Us personally. And I was like, oh, I come up.
If you go to tequilaandterror.com, you can find all the links there. That's probably the easiest way, because it's kind of like a content aggregator. One
place stop for your Tequila and Terror shopping needs. You can also find us at Tequila and Terror Podcast on Instagram, Tequila and Terror Podcast on Facebook, and on Twitter at Tequila and Terror.
That's wrong. I thought it was right, but it's Tequila_Terror, because there's actually some whole-looking girl with Tequila Terror.
Oh.
I had to change it. I was sending everybody to her Twitter page.
Oh. Mm-hmm. So don't visit that. I mean, unless you're into her, that's fine too.
Probably don't go to her Twitter page.
Go to ours.
Yeah.
Yes.
I may delete that part. She's not a hoe. She's a fine lady.
She's a wonderful, productive. We don't know her.
We don't at all. She may be on her story. But okay, you finish it up, Keisha.
All right, y'all. Well, thank you again. This is the 4th episode. And feel free to contact us on our social media pages or email. Wes will probably not be partaking in any of that. And we appreciate it. Y'all have a good week.